And first, I would like to talk to you about the conservation of complexity. And you might be saying, Stefanos, what does that mean? Well, the world that we live in is changing rapidly, right? And the hacking community is not slowing down. I will show you some details later on, but and yet with all this productivity that we have, with all this technology that we have, the way we are doing everything, the way we interact is not getting easier. We need to adapt. We need to change. There has to be a new way of doing things that are out there. And when I say we, I'm talking about the channel partners, the customers, and the vendors as well. So first, I thought I would start talking to you a little bit about myself. I'm an early riser. I wake up around 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning. And the first thing I do is reach out to my tablet. And on my personal tablet, I have my own application where I have Outlook and I check my corporate email, see if there is any issues on the other side of the world. Maybe I check in for my colleagues in Europe or Asia, if there is any issue that occurred, if there is anything that's been happening. And then after that, I head on to the gym. Now I'm using my own personal device and I'm still checking my email, I'm still checking some of the websites I want while I am at the gym working out. And then once I'm done at the gym, the next thing I do is go to Starbucks, get a coffee. I'm using Starbucks application in this case to make a purchase, right? And then I head home. Maybe I have a meeting with some of the colleagues in Asia or Europe to see if there is anything that can be done that week or that day. Now I switch back to my corporate devices to have emails, right? Or meetings in this case. And then I might jump back again to my own personal device. I may go to my bank account and start paying bills, or I may go to some websites that I'm usually going to check these websites. And then I might go back again to my corporate device and log into Salesforce. I just wanted to show you what my day looks like because I'm doing all these things before 9 a.m. I was able to use different devices, my corporate device, mobile device, tablet, and I was able to connect to different Wi-Fi as well. Right? This is the world that we live in today. You're supposed to jump from one machine to another Wi-Fi and yet be able to do your job at the same time, have that security protecting your corporate applications. And all this has been possible because of the technology that was created 50 years ago. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. In the early 1970s, the open standard, again, the keyword here is open. The open standard of TCP/IP emerged. And because it's open, the hackers also have access to this open standard, right? That means they can look at the 7 layers. They can look at the application layer, presentation layer, station layer, transport layer, network layer, right? Data link layer, and physical layer. And they can see how data is encapsulated, how it's being moving up or down the different layers. Therefore, they also have open access and they can take advantage of that to create some kind of malicious code. This is what the earlier guest was talking about, some of you were here. And in early 1980s, you start seeing a lot of viruses or malicious code being created. And later on the 80s, you see the World Wide Web emerged. And then later on in the 90s, you start seeing a lot of application. This is how the world is evolving, right? And what happens 2 years ago? The pandemic came, and we all went home. Companies spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a perimeter so that employees go to the office and have access to those applications. Because of the pandemic, everyone went home. We went further and further away from our office, from our application. We went further and further away from the data that we're supposed to have access as an employee. And in the next future, in the next 4 to 5 years, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Metaverse. I have no doubt that we will be logging in early in the morning, just like I did, to Metaverse, trying to take advantage of what's available that's out there, right? I'm sure some of you already have access to Metaverse. You already have both virtual land or virtual paintings or virtual pictures as well. Maybe in the next few years, I might be doing business. So I might log in early in the morning to see what I can take advantage of from the metaverse. Right? The world that we know is evolving very, very rapidly. And we need to adapt, right? So I just want to show you all this game, which is unstoppable, comes with a great cost. And the cost of cyber crime by 2025 will be $10.5 trillion. Think about it. And if you compare it to a GDP, it will be the third largest economy in the world behind US and China. So clearly, it's good to be a hacker.
That's what I was saying. It should be on the other side.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing to be a hacker. Hackers are not going away. It's the third largest economy in the world. Okay, and 30,000 websites are hacked every single day. Email is responsible for 94% of all malware. As you know, email hackers, they use social engineering. They look at your LinkedIn, they look at your Facebook and Instagram, see what kind of pictures you post, and they use that information to send you a malicious code. And all companies have training to employees saying, hey, please don't click on the link. There is training after training, but there is always that one employee. Always click on it because they masquerade the email as if it's coming from their boss, a CEO, a director, and maybe there's one alphabet missing from the domain. Usually employees have this tendency of clicking on an email, right? Employees can be malicious, they can be naive, but regardless, and because of that, hackers know that they always use email to inject malicious code or to redirect that traffic to a command and control type of techniques. And yet we have a gap of 3.5 million shortage when it comes to cybersecurity professionals. And that number is growing significantly. Okay. Therefore, if some of you are thinking about cybersecurity field, you can see that there is a huge demand, and that number is growing exponentially. Right. So I highly recommend it. Now, as a community, what have we done when we talk about cybersecurity? We have given you an alphabet soup of 3 to 4 letters that most individuals can conceive with a management console. If you look at the average company, they have 9 to 12 different cybersecurity equipment that they are managing in a company. And I just told you that there is a huge shortage, but imagine you just got hired and you look at all these alphabet soups like CASB, ZTNA, MD, DLP, RBI, SWG, I can keep going and on and on. And you need to learn each and every one of them separately. It's complex, right? It's overwhelming. And we need to come up with a new way of thinking, a new way to see cybersecurity. So before we start talking about the new way, let's look at the traditional network perimeter that's out there today. It looks exactly like this castle. You create a perimeter, you have a single point of exit, single point of entry, where you have a firewall or a proxy, just like a castle, right? And inside the perimeter, you use VLANs to create multiple different departments, accounting, HR department, and you create DMZ zone, where you have your applications, web application, email application, your database where you have all your sensitive data stored. Again, what happened during the pandemic? Everyone went home. You spend hundreds of thousands to create this perimeter, and all your employees are outside. So what did most companies do? They use VPN to back up the traffic and hairpin that traffic outside. But I'm sure some of you already dealt with it. Most companies were having an issue because VPN was not created for all employees to work from home. It was created for only some employees to work from home. And most companies started having outages because VPN didn't have the proper capacity, redundancy, and there was a single choke point, and the connection was going down, productivity went down, right? And it's just not working anymore. Employees have to be mobile. Just like I showed you, I was able to get my email from my tablet, go to the gym, use different application, use my corporate device and have a meeting. That's the way it is today. And regardless of what kind of device you are using, you should have a way, whether they are in the perimeter or outside of the perimeter, you need to have that security available. There has to be a new way of thinking. And this is the time to begin to think differently. And because it's rare, which is really rare, where you see the analyst community and everybody come around and begin to gel around a new architecture, a new way of driving business. And we want to get in front of these hackers, and we have to adapt. We need to change. And this is the new architecture, which is the zero trust architecture. It's known as ZTNA. Right? Zero trust, there has been documentation since the 1970s. It's not something that came up today. And 20 years ago, Google started implementing ZTNA architecture. From there, it was written by Forrester, named by Forrester, and then in 2018, NIST and other government organizations came out with a security zero trust architecture. The idea of zero trust architecture is to give explicit proxy, regardless of where your users are coming from. You see it on the right side. They might be coming from the branch office or the headquarters using personal device or corporate device, regardless of what kind of device you're using. It doesn't matter. From any geolocation, remote users connecting from Starbucks, Wi-Fi, or risky Wi-Fi at the airport, it doesn't matter. Giving explicit proxy to your internal application, whether they are accessing the SaaS application, which is G Suite, Office 365, or it can be any web content, or it can be a private application that's being stored in your private data center, private cloud, public cloud, regardless, right? Never trust, always verify type of approach. This way, all the users can be mobile. You can use any device, and still you have that control by leveraging zero trust architecture. And some companies have already adopted. And as you continue in your digital transformation, companies have started to adopt this zero trust architecture. And this is what Forcepoint does. And when we talk about zero trust architecture, the second shift is that what we call secure access service edge. Most of you know SASE, again, another acronym here. And all the equipment that you have, I was talking about, in your perimeter, now you need to shift it to the cloud, a centralized way of managing everything holistically. Now, at the top, you see web security, web filtering, right? If you're using corporate devices, you may allow whatever the corporate wants to allow, but you may want to block sites like gambling and some malicious websites as well. Therefore, you have web filtering security, traffic will be redirected to the proxy, and the web filtering will look at the web content, and based on that, you can implement that type of policy. The second one is CASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker. This will allow you to control your corporate applications. If you have any SaaS applications like Office 365, Salesforce, G Suite, Box, Dropbox, keep going, then if users are attempting to access, you can leverage forward proxy if you have an agent, or reverse proxy if you don't have an agent. By the way, after this presentation, if I have time, I will show you a quick demo what that looks like in real life. So that, and then if you have any questions, we can address it as well. And this is what the CASB will allow you to do, protect your cloud applications. And then you have ZTNA, right? Now, most companies, they have a private application stored in data center. What's the traditional way of accessing it? You have to use VPN. The problem with VPN is that, first of all, it's slow. And second, you have access to the entire network. When you have VPN, if it's hacked, that means you have access to the web server, the email server, you have access to everything. But when you leverage ZTNA connection, you only have access to that specific application and nothing else. You're creating an air gap between your internal network and that application. Even if, let's assume, a hacker somehow was able to get into your private application, then that hacker only have access to that application, nothing else, right? This is the zero trust approach. And of course, email security, which is what we've been talking about. Every email has to be inspected. The link has to be inspected. Is it coming from malicious, does it contain malicious files injected with the malicious codes, or is it trying to redirect you? All those has to be inspected at the top, and then traffic will be allowed to continue. Next is the Smart Age agent. Forcepoint 1 have a smart agent. What makes it unique is that it has its own certificate. Every agent has its own certificate, and the ability to do SSL decryption and inspection of the traffic on your machine without redirecting it anywhere else. Right? It doesn't backhaul the traffic to your headquarters for decision making. It doesn't backhaul to the cloud. It can look at the traffic. Let's say you're going to gambling site. I'm going to show you a demo shortly, and say, hey, this one is not allowed. The decision is made on the device. Therefore, it's fast. It's a distributed architecture instead of a single point. You, as an administrator, you go to Forcepoint 1 portal and configure a policy, install the agent. After that, you're done. Your job is done. You don't need to plan capacity. You don't need to plan where your users are connecting from. Your job is done. It's very simple, very easy, simplifying the complexity. That's what is happening. And this is what the Smart Age agent will allow you to do. And there are two ways that the traffic can flow to Forcepoint 1, right? The first one is proxy, steering the traffic to Forcepoint 1 cloud. How is that done? If you have Forcepoint 1 agent installed on your machine, then that will allow you to steer the traffic depending on what you're trying to access. Are you trying to access the corporate application, or are you trying to access your own personal application? Are you trying to access some shadow IT type of website? That would be determined on the agent. It's a smart agent, and some traffic will be steered to Forcepoint 1 proxy for decision-making process. From there, you can access whatever you're allowed based on your corporate regulations. And the other way is to bypass the proxy. How do you bypass the proxy? Let's say if you're going for confidentiality and privacy purposes, if you go to your banking website or healthcare related websites, let's say you want to check your blood result or something like that, and you don't want that traffic to go through the proxy, it's private. In that case, you can create a policy to say, hey, if it's that traffic, I want to bypass the proxy. You can create different types of policy depending on what's mandated by the organization.
And then what you use in this case, just VPN?
Sorry, say that again?
You bypass what you're going to be using, just VPN? Or still just a separate account?
You're bypassing, we don't, it's not using VPN per se.
No.
Sorry?
I'm saying you're going to be using VPN in this case? Or
No.
No.
It's just going direct. The agent will see, because the agent is a smart agent, any policy that you have created, let's say healthcare website and banking sector, financial sector, bypass. or you can create a custom location, a specific custom location. Or if you say for a CEO, you can bypass
Okay, so just
while
create the policy.
the policy. Yeah, very simple, straightforward.
When you say smart agents, because it's gonna go and authenticate, make sure that it's the same person that is setting up a new policy.
Very good point. Yeah, it will authenticate. What it will do when you first install it, the agent knows what IDP that you have the first time, only once, and then it will sync with the Forcepoint One cloud, and it will say, okay, this person is trying to authenticate. Forcepoint One will check, hey, where is this user coming from, or what IDP is this user using, and based on the IDP, traffic will be redirected to the IDP using SAML. Once it's authenticated on your identity provider, whether you're using Okta, Azure AD, ADFS, any ID, it doesn't matter. Then you'll be authenticated, and that user information will be logged. Anything they're doing will be logged, and the log information will be sent. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Is the agent per machine base or per user base?
It's per machine. But if a different user logs in, then that user needs to authenticate. So that user information will be stored.
And then once this user logs on, that user come in, that user, the machine belongs kind of set settings based on the new user. That
Correct. Yes. Now, sometimes companies have a centralized location where they have a machine, everybody can log in. Let's say it's a healthcare. Everybody goes to that computer and logs in and checks it. In that case, you can change it to anonymous mode. Anonymous mode means that you don't need to log in. A user don't have to log in every time you log in. Just it will capture the information from that machine in anonymous mode. Therefore, any user can come. Any other question? All right. Okay. So, what time is it ending? How long do we have? 20 minutes, right? 12:10? 12:15. Okay, we got time. I just wanted to show you a demo before my time. All right, and now the fourth component within the cloud is the data loss. This is very important, right? It's DLP or data loss security, and whether they are accessing your sanctioned application like Office 365, OneDrive, SharePoint, or accessing their own personal application. You can log into your corporate device and log into your own Box account. You need data loss protection. You want to make sure that data is not exfiltrated. It can be a naive employee who just found out that there is a new application that can allow them to do their job quickly, and they say, hey, I just want to do my job, right? Or it can be a disgruntled employee trying to exfiltrate data before leaving the organization. But regardless, if you have DLP, then you can control different channels, whether that's email channel, web channel, cloud application, your own sanction application. Then you can protect it in any way. Removable media like USB, or printing, or taking a screenshot as well. You need that DLP to have a protection. And you need threat protection as well. You already have that in the cloud. The first one is RBI. Are you guys familiar with the remote browser isolation or RBI? Okay, RBI basically is a way to create an air gap between the website that you are accessing and your corporate machine. It's a zero trust approach to any website you go into. What usually malicious hackers will do is that they inject malicious code within the website, in the content of the website, not in the actual website, but the content. And if you have RBI, that means you're rendering that website, you're creating an air gap. Even if it has a malicious code, that malicious code is not downloading to your corporate device. This is one way of creating zero trust. The second one is CDR. CDR is content, disarm, and reconstruct. This is for anything that's being downloaded. If you allow employees to go to contractors' application or website and download, some employees, they download, let's say, a mortgage application or some sort of application. In that case, you need to inspect that file. And this is what CDR will allow you to do. And what makes CDR unique is that it's completely stripped the file, look at line by line, byte by byte, and see if there's any content within the file that's not pertaining to the file format. If there is, that will be stripped. Basically, we call it bleaching. It will desensitize the file from any macros, anything that's containing. Even if you're using steganography, are you guys familiar with steganography? It's the, yeah, you hide sensitive data within an image. It looks like an image. But I have a steganography here. I have the entire book of Pride and Prejudice embedded within an image. So how many AVs can detect that unless you strip the whole thing and look at it line by line? This is what the CDR will allow you to do. Most AVs, when they detect some malicious code, they block it. We don't block it. CDR will strip that information and download the clean file. So that's a unique approach that it has. So this is definitely we recommend it if you want to implement a zero trust for anything that's downloaded to corporate devices.
How long does it take to process, let's say, PDF file with something embedded in there? It might take hours.
No, it's I don't think it's going to work here. I tested it. I don't know, for some reason the Wi-Fi is not allowing me to connect to an RBI. But this image I just told you about,
Image, yeah.
PDF file. It depends on the size, but usually it takes maybe a few seconds. I'll say 4 seconds. Yeah, to strip it, look at it, desensitize it, sanitize it, and then to download it 4 seconds max. And then you show you can see the file size before and after. You'll see like how many megs or how many kilobits less. But the idea is to make sure, never trust, always verify type of approach for anything that's been done.
Yeah, one image is pretty fast. Also.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the image, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Taking.
Yeah, but we do any file format. This is a unique technology that Forcepoint has.
The work is encrypted files? Encrypted files.
Encrypted. Well, if it's password encrypted, then no one can do that.
Yeah.
No one can decrypt a password.
Or
The one thing you can do is to block if you have corporate machine,
right.
and if it's a password if it's password protected, then you block download to begin with. You shouldn't allow that. Right? And of course, you have sandboxing as well. Let's say it's a file, you can send it to sandboxing, and file is detonated and looked at. It's malicious behavior, you can block. But I prefer CDR personally, because it's now blocking the file, it's sanitizing it, and you still have the clean file downloaded. So why not?
And after you can sandbox.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Now you could combine the data protection with different components. In this case, CASB, for example. I'll show you a demo quickly. And if you have corporate application and maybe you subjected to some sort of compliance, let's say PCI, PII, and you don't want users to download any file containing social insurance number, credit card number, passport number, driver license number, then you can combine the data loss with CASB so that you protect your users. Not only now you have full control and visibility into your users' behavior, you can also apply DLP policy, right? And you can combine DLP with your ZTNA as well. Even if it's your internal application, let's say you have HTTP, HTTPS type of application you're trying to access, you can implement DLP as well. Right? This is something that's unique to Forcepoint. No one else can do that. We have a unique reverse proxy technology that's patented, and this will allow you to manage your internal application as if it's a SaaS application. Right? This makes your job a lot easier. Now you have visibility. You can say certain users cannot log in, X users can log in. They can only log in only from certain location and from certain devices. And then you say, okay, even if you're allowed, we make sure that we inspect it for data, make sure that they're not downloaded, even if it's a code. Right? You can create DLP policy based on that code, so that that proprietary coding message is not leaked using CTMA, right? Multiple layer of defense. So the modern architecture gives you a couple of business benefits. Number one, implementation of zero trust, moving from implicit security, which is access to all the network. The second is to increase your productivity because you don't have to send everything through and to be inspected as well if you choose to. And this is the technology today. You know, some call it SASE, some call it SSE, but the idea is you need to move all the equipment to the cloud as you continue in your digital transformation, right? And most CISOs and directors, you know, they always ask us, you know, security is very complicated. How can we have a simplified way of managing these different products, whether it's SASE, SSE, Zero Trust, SD1, data security? Is there a way to simplify security? And this is what Forcepoint will allow you to do. You can manage everything from a single pane of glass. You can control all the users and have visibility into the log, and then you can correlate the information based on the user behavior and make a decision. Security simplified that, reducing the complexity of security, which is what we call it. All right. Awesome. This is the end of the presentation. Let me show you a quick demo, what that looks like. In this case, I'll show you a demo of Office 365. This is my own personal device. I don't have any agent or software installed. And I want to show you what that looks like when users attempt to connect from a mobile device or corporate device, it doesn't matter. In this case, I have no agent. I'm leveraging Forcepoint One reverse proxy. What we do ahead of time is that, oh, you're not watching anything?
Nope.
You're looking at your island.
All right.
Your display.
Maybe it's a drag left or right.
Ah, interesting. Now I can't see it. Okay.
If you go to preferences, you can mirror display.
Okay, let me plug it in like that. That's weird. Hold on.
Hereabouts in the middle.
Okay, let me just. I don't know what's going on. Let me see here. Mirror display, how about that? There we go. Okay. All right. Let me make it bigger. I think it's going. Okay. Fine. Okay. We got enough time. All right. This is my own personal device. I'm going to office.com. Hopefully it works now. Awesome. There we go. And what we do ahead of time is that on the back end of your application, we change the single sign-on. Usually every application has a single sign-on where it points to your identity provider, right? In this case, we trick your application into thinking that Forcepoint One is the identity provider, so that the application redirects the traffic to us. And we take that traffic and redirect it to your IDP, whatever IDP you are using, and then return it back again. We trick your application to think Forcepoint One is the identity provider, and we trick your identity provider to think that Forcepoint One is the service provider. And using SAML, we redirect, that's how we get in that path of the traffic. Okay, so now here I am, I'm going to office.com, I'm going to sign in. I put my credential, Office 365 will check my credential and knows that, hey, this traffic needs to be redirected to Forcepoint 1, and Forcepoint 1 will take that traffic and redirect it to my IDP. In this case, I'm using Okta as my IDP, but again, it can be any IDP that your organization uses. Now, I go to my own IDP, I do my authentication from the user employee perspective, and once I click sign in, that traffic again will be redirected to Forcepoint 1, and Forcepoint 1 will redirect traffic to my original destination. I'm logged into Office 365. This is what the process looks like. From the user perspective, Forcepoint 1 is completely transparent. There's no extra steps that they have to do, right? And as far as they're concerned, they're logged in from IDP to Office 365. But now, as an administrator, you have full control into your users' behavior. What are they doing in this application? You can leverage the DLP, the loss prevention, to make sure that employees are not doing anything malicious, knowingly or unknowingly. In this case, let's say I'm working on this document. This is a mergers and acquisition document. As you can see, it's a very sensitive document. I can access it from any device. But what happens if an employee wants to download this sensitive data to their own personal device? In this case, I have created a policy saying that, hey, no one should download this sensitive document to my own personal device. So if I click download, then you would see a pop-up message. This message can be customized to your own corporate verbiage. You can include your own corporate logo. And this is a deterrent message to your employees saying, hey, what you're doing is against corporate policy. Stop from doing that. And this information, of course, is being logged in the log, and you have visibility. And an automatic email is also sent to the employee saying that what you've done is against corporate policy. Right? You're being watched. Be careful. You know, you can customize it in any way you want. If you notice, there was a file that was downloaded, and if I open that file, instead of containing the mergers and acquisitions document, instead it contains only a warning from the system administrator. Again, this message can be customized in any way you want. So it's easy, straightforward. The only thing you need to do is that you have to log into, so can I go to the policy here? You have to go just to Forcepoint 1 and create policy. We have a single management pane of glass where you can create policy for your CASB, for your secure web gateway. Here you can create policy for your secure web gateway, and for any application that you have in your organization, you can create two types of policy: proxy-based policy. This is your data in transit, data in motion. And the second one is API-based policy. This is for your data at rest. If you want to understand what employees are doing, maybe they're uploading sensitive data in the cloud, in OneDrive, SharePoint, and you are mandated, subjected to compliance like PCI, PII. You don't want your social insurance number to be stored all over the OneDrive and SharePoint. API will allow you to scan your data trends, and then based on that, you can take remediation action. You can strengthen your data governance. Now you put all your sensitive data into one location. You have full visibility and control into your data. And this is agentless. From agent perspective, also, are we out of time? 5 more minutes. Okay, so quickly I'll give you what it looks like from if you have the agent. Okay, here we go. It's working. I'm logged into my VM, and on my VM here, okay, let's look.
Carlos, you said it's agentless, but someone has to set up the policies, right?
It's, yeah, so what happens is you have to log into, what is it? You create the policy in Forcepoint 1 portal. You create the policy here. If I scroll to Office 365, this is the policy. This is where I created the DLP action saying that, hey, if anyone downloads a file containing credit card, or if it contains malware, or if it contains Canadian SIN, then this is where you can, what kind of action, what kind of policy you want to create. I'll block it, I'll deny it, encrypt it. If you want it to be downloaded, you can encrypt it where you have only password, and you can use digital right management as well. So,
Can you block users from screenshotting the?
I'm sorry, I can't
Can
hear
you
you.
block users from taking screenshots on sensitive documents?
Yes, you can. For that, you need an agent. Yeah, if you have the agent, then you can block screenshot, you can block removable media, you can block printers and email as well. Right? This is why we have in the cloud different components, and each components will do different things for you. Right? The idea is to simplify it. Now you have a single pane of glass. Right? So
It sounds like a DLP solution.
DLP solution as well as a SaaS application solution, email solution, ZDNA, RBI, and so forth, right? The idea is to combine DLP with different channels. Is it email channel, web channel, or your private application channel as well? All right, thank you everyone. Anyone have any questions?
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.